All right, let's come up to a standing position and come up towards the front of your towel, and you'll have your big toes touching and your heels just slightly apart. To begin with, just close your eyes for a second here and get two feelings. One of the energy going down through your feet into the floor, so you're rooted there. And an opposing energy going up through the spine, through the top of your head. So you really feel very proud, very tall, while at the same time rooted down through the floor. Any residual tension that you're feeling in your body, just let it go. So your fingers just dangle down away from the palms. Your jaw is soft. Tongue is falling off the roof of your mouth. And the eye sockets are relaxed. It's in this place of awareness that you want to set an intention for your class. A lot of people make an intention to do their practice with breath. Every single movement has a breath connected to it. You can also dedicate your practice to someone you love or that you're missing. Or you can simply do it for the fun of it. So here we go. We're going to start with pranayama breathing. With your intention in mind, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Interlock the fingers and push them down towards the floor. Each inhale is going to be about 5 seconds, every exhale about 5 seconds. So look down at your knuckles, let the air out of your lungs, and begin. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring the palms together, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, the arms go forward and up towards the ceiling. Exhale, palms together, they come down the center of your chest. Interlock the fingers and push down. Inhale, arms forward and up. Exhale, palms together, interlock as you pass the heart and push down. Inhale, on the inhale, the mouth is closed. You're pulling the air through the throat. Exhale, the mouth opens, breathing all of the air out through your throat. Inhale, sounds like this. Exhale, sounds like this. Inhale, we'll do 2 more here. Reach up towards the ceiling and exhale. Good, here we go, last one. Inhale, imagine you're filling your whole body with air. Reach up. Exhale, squeezing the lungs down to one spot, right in the center of your chest. All right, let's drop the arms down by the side and we'll get ready for crescent moon pose. Inhale, arms go up over the head, interlock your fingers over top, point your index fingers up, and remember your big toes are together, heels slightly apart. Take a big inhale, stretch up, and exhale, go over to the right side of the room. Now that's with your upper body. Your hips move over to the left. And say I were standing beside you, I would see your hips and your shoulders in one line. So when we go over to the right, sometimes you got to bring your right shoulder forward and your left hip forward a bit. And also keep in mind the chin, you want to keep it up so your throat is open. Eyes stay nice and calm. You can come down just a little bit more on the exhales. It's the interesting thing about the body is the inhales are for lengthening, exhales generally soften the body or stretch it out. So let's do 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, come back up to center, pause there. Take another inhale, stretch up, and exhale, come over to the left side of the room. Now, one amazing thing that you can do, not only in crescent moon pose, but in any pose, is keep your eyes perfectly still on one spot and then let the eyes blur. There's an amazing connection between the eyes and the brain. If they are soft and they're relaxed, so too will the thoughts be soft and relaxed. Remember what we talked about before, you want to move the breath with the body. So every inhale, there's a bit more lengthening. Every exhale, a bit more softening down. We'll do 5 more seconds. Coming down, hips out to the right. Good. Come back up. And then let your arms float down by your side. And we'll get ready for powerful pose, Utkatasana. Bring your feet hip width apart. That's about 2 fists width apart, with the toes pointing straight forward. Then bring your arms straight forward so they're parallel to the floor and shoulder width apart. Take a big inhale, lift the chest up. Exhale, sit down and backwards, almost like you're sitting back into a chair. And right off the bat, you're going to feel this. This pose is amazing for strengthening up the thighs, strengthening up the legs. And the more you sit backwards and down, the more that will activate the muscles in the legs. Let's also keep the chest lifted, nice and proud. Draw the belly button in towards the spine. Keep the arms very strong. And come back up. Now let's rise up into the forefoot and pressing down through the toes so you're balanced, standing up towards the toes. Inhale, lift up through the belly again. Exhale, bend your knees forward. And you're keeping your spine really tall in this second part. And it's almost as if you're sliding down a wall, really. Please keep in mind the arms stay strong, the breathing is slow, and the eyes are unmoving. We are creating a meditation throughout this 60 minutes. If you'd like a challenge, bring your heels forward more and bring your sitting bones towards the floor. And come back up. Let the heels float towards the floor. Bring your arms down and your feet together. Take an inhale and an exhale. And then eagle pose, Garudasana. Inhale, arms up over the head, palms together. Exhale, the right arm swings around the left arm and you wrap around at the elbows and at the wrists. So it's like a snake coiling around a branch. Eventually you're going to have the palms together, but if you can't, just grab onto your thumb or your wrist. Have a seat down about 6 inches. Push the left foot into the floor and bring your right leg up and over the left leg. And if you can, wrap the toes right around your left leg. So this is the setup for eagle pose. To enhance the pose, to bring it a little deeper, squeeze the forearms together, squeeze the legs together, but keep the spine tall. So remember how we started, right? There's that lengthening up while at the same time a rooting down. Maybe sit down just a bit more. And come back up. Inhale, arms up, back over the head. Exhale, left arm swings around the right arm. Wrap around again. Take an inhale and exhale, sit down. Push the right foot into the floor. Inhale, left leg up and over. And again, only if you can. You never want to force things, particularly when the knees are involved. Sit down into the pose. Eyes perfectly still. This is pretty important actually in eagle pose because it incorporates the balance and strength and flexibility. And with these 3 variables in play, you're going to need a lot of concentration, a lot of focus. Breathing slow. All right, great. Let's come back up. Inhale, arms up overhead, palms together. Exhale, sit down as if you did in powerful pose. But this time we're going to bring the right elbow out to the outside of your left thigh. And if you can't do that, no worries. Just put your right hand on the outside of the thigh with your forearm on your thighs. All right, now with the elbow, push it to the right and turn your chest out to the left. So you'll feel automatically you're getting a twist through the spine, which is infinitely important here because we're preparing the spine for the next pose, which is a backward bend. For a challenge, again, we sit down a bit more into the hips and roll the right ribs towards the wall to your left. Let's come back up. Inhale, arms point back up to the ceiling. Exhale, sit down, and the left elbow now comes to the outside of the right thigh. Now really get your elbow dug in there. You're going to need this for leverage. Take an inhale, lengthen your spine out, and exhale, turn your heart towards the right side of the room. And that's actually a good way to approach the pose. Think about that. You're opening your heart to the right side of the room. Eyes are looking up on one spot. Breathing is slow. Creating a meditation within a very challenging pose. And come back up. Inhale, arms come back over the head. Exhale, interlock the fingers and point your index fingers towards the ceiling. Now let's keep the legs pretty strong here, okay? The tailbone is down. Let's all breathe deep, nice, tall, and then pull the arms back behind your head and look up at the ceiling, trying to think of this in terms of an arch through your spine. Okay, the heart is open, the underarms are open here, the neck is lengthening as well. So there's this big sweeping, rolling back motion through your spine. This is an amazing pose, not only to create flexibility in the spine, but to wake the body up, to wake the mind up. Rolling back just a bit more, eyes calm, 3, 2, and 1. Come back up. Let the arms float down by your side. Take an inhale and an exhale. Then bring your hands to the hips. Bring your feet hip width apart. Take an inhale. Exhale, fold forward, bend the knees, and bring your hands down onto the floor. And just let your head hang here. This is a great kind of counter pose for the backward bend, just to let that low back relax. Then we'll go into Dhanurasana from here. That's translated into loosely runner's lunge. So keep the knees bent, take an inhale, and exhale, step the right leg back towards the very back of your mat. So that's a pretty long stride backwards, right? Let's come up on the fingertips, and it's like a runner in the starting blocks, getting ready to sprint. But in this case, we're going to bring our hands up onto the thigh, and that'll help with your balance. But keep the right leg supremely strong, the front shin straight up and down. Okay, so your knee is above the ankles. You can probably feel this right in front of your right hip. That's called the psoas muscle. And this is a really good muscle to stretch open, because not only does it prepare you for some of the following poses, but it helps alleviate things like back pain. It's very important. Let's bring the hands back down onto the floor. Roll the weight back and then step the right foot up together with the left foot and fold in half. Just let the head hang again. Bend the knees. Let's step back again. Now this time it's the left leg coming back. Remember, it's a long stride. In fact, if you didn't feel much of a stretch on the first side, step back a bit further with the left foot. All right, bring the hands up onto the thigh. Now, just to give you a heads up here, if you ever do want to take this pose a little bit further, you can bring your arms up over the head, bring the palms together and cross your thumbs. From here, inhale, lift the rib cage up, and then pull into a backward bend. It's a beautiful looking pose. Again, nice wide open heart. Then bring your hands back down to the thigh if you're doing that variation. Hands onto the floor. Roll the weight backwards, and then step the feet together. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. Again, the head is hanging here. All right, let's bring the hands to the hips. Take an inhale. Exhale, come back up to standing, nice and slow. Keep your hands there, bend the knees, and step the right foot back about 4 feet. And just to give you an idea of what that is, your yoga mat's about 6 feet long. Now let's bring the arms over the head, shoulder width apart with the palms facing one another, and bend into the left knee. So the knee, again, is right over top of the ankle. Back foot is rooted down into the floor and the back leg is strong. That's called Warrior 1. So we'll go into Warrior 2 now by swinging the right arm back, left arm forward, and then heel, toe, walk the right foot back about a foot. Take an inhale, and then exhale, bend your right knee. So eventually it's at about a 90-degree angle. Please remember the knee stays over the ankle. Sink into the hips. Take a few breaths here, eyes on one spot. Now triangle pose, turn your palms and then it's almost like a windmill motion, and you're going to bring your left elbow in front of the left knee. It's actually to the inside of the knee, and the eyes gaze up, your right arm straight up towards the ceiling. This is a pretty tough pose, particularly if we hold it longer, so breathe. Inhaling and exhaling mindfully. All right, come back up. Warrior 2. To come out of Warrior 2 into Warrior 1, straighten the front leg, heel, toe, walk the foot back up to where it was. Swing the arms up over the head and bend into the left knee. Bring the hands to the hips, turn the right heel out, bend the back knee and step the feet together. And we'll do the other side. Take an inhale, exhale, step the left foot back. Now just so we're clear here, the back foot is at about a 45-degree angle, so it's pointing to about 10 o'clock. Take the arms over the head on an inhale, and exhale, bend the right knee. So Warrior 1, right? Very proud pose. In Sanskrit they call this Virabhadrasana 1. All right, let's swing the left arm back, right arm forward, and heel toe the left foot back. Take an inhale, exhale, bend the right knee. Arms very strong here. So if someone were to come up and push down on your hands, they wouldn't be able to move them. Take an inhale, exhale, sink down a bit more. And just feel the very front of your body open up like it's shining out light. Sinking into it more, and then turn the palms, windmill your arms, elbow right in front of the knee. Now the reason the elbow is there beside the knee is to actually push it backwards, and then you can roll the right ribs underneath. Remember, the heart opening up towards the side wall. Eyes super calm. Breathing slow. Remember the intention you set at the start of the class, particularly in the more challenging poses. And come back up to Warrior 2. Sink into the hips, hold that pose. Keep the tongue soft, eyes soft. Straighten the right leg. Heel toe, the left foot up. Inhale, swing the arms up overhead. Exhale, bend the right knee down. Warrior 1 again. So basically what we're doing here, we're creating a circle of the pose, going out of it the same way we went into it. Bring the hands to the hips, turn the left heel out, bend the back leg, and step the feet together. You can bring your arms down by your side. Let's all take an inhale and an exhale. Feels good, eh? Okay, we're going to do a forward bend now. Let's bring the hands back to the hips, bend the knees, and step the right foot back, probably about 4 feet. Then pivot on your feet to your right, and when you look down, your feet should be parallel to one another, maybe even turned in just a little bit. Take an inhale, exhale, fold forward, try and keep your back straight, and bring your fingertips down onto the floor. Now those of us with tight hamstrings, you're going to want to bend your knees a little bit here, and that'll take your hamstrings out of it. You can fold a little bit more. Remember, the spine is nice and long. All right, now if you feel pretty comfortable here, you want to go further, you can straighten the legs out and reach down and grab underneath the outsides of your heels. And this will provide you with some traction so you can pull up on the heels and lengthen your spine down towards the floor a bit more. And keep in mind also that the neck is also part of the spine, so you're lengthening through the top of the head, not looking up, not tucking the chin too much. Keep breathing. And towards the end here, another say 10 seconds, if you're grabbing under your feet, you can start to pull just a little bit harder. Everything in yoga is done in small increments. You never force a pose. Now if you're grabbing under your feet, you can bring them back onto your fingertips in front of you. Then bring your hands to the hips. Take an inhale. Exhale, come up nice and slow, back up to standing. And then pivot on your feet, back towards the front of your mat. Turn the right heel out, bend the knee, and step the feet together. Take an inhale and an exhale. Maybe take another breath here, because sometimes coming out of forward bends, people get a little bit dizzy. All right, let's come back towards the middle of the mat. And what we're going to do here is something called toppling tree. Firm up your left leg, because we're going to be standing on one leg here, and bring your hands to the hips. From here, bring your right knee up so it's parallel with your right hip. Keep that left leg nice and strong. That's your foundation of the pose. And then point the toes and reach the right leg way back behind you. Really strong right leg, pointed toes, active right leg. Reach the arms back now so they're in line with that right leg, and tilt, hinge on the left hip, keeping both hips in one line, because sometimes we tend to lift that right hip up here. So keep it down even with the left hip. Lengthen through the spine. Remember, that's the neck as well. Belly stays lifted up towards the spine for 3, 2, 1. Hands back to the hips. Bring the knee forward and back up, still balancing on that left leg. And then drop the foot down to the floor. All right, let's do the other side now. Right leg, solid. Left knee comes up, hip height. Point the toes. Now this time, let's try drawing the belly in before we do the pose. So remember, that means the belly button comes back to the spine. Inhale and exhale, lengthen the left leg back. Arms back in line with the left leg. Take an inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, go ahead, start to bend. Now one thing that happens a lot here is that we tend to bend the upper body too far down. Try and remember that if someone were looking at you from the side, your leg and your spine and your neck and your head would all be in one perfect line. It's like a teeter-totter or a seesaw here, perfectly straight line on the fulcrum of your left hip. And come back up. Bring the knee forward and back up. And drop the foot. Arms down by your side. Inhale. And exhale. Okay, here we go. This is what we've been working towards. It's called dancer's pose. Beautiful, elegant pose. Turn your right palm out to face the right wall with your thumb facing the back of the room. And just lift up your right foot so you grab the inside of your right ankle. Bring the left arm up towards the ceiling. Take a big inhale, lengthen the left arm up, and then start to push the right shin towards the back of the room. It's kind of interesting. As soon as you do that, you feel your spine goes into a backward bend again. But also it's a bit of a twist because your right shoulder is going back, your left shoulder is going forward. One thing you may want to think about or visualize here is a tug of war. You're pushing the right shin and ankle backwards, but your left arm is reaching forwards, creating that stability in the center. Now at a certain point, you're going to feel, okay, I'm kicking back as much as I can, I'm stretching forward as much as I can. It's at that point that you start hinging again, just like the last pose, at the left hip. Eventually you come down so your belly is parallel to the floor and kicking up very actively now. If we were looking at you from the side, maybe your toes are starting to go higher than your head even. For 3, kicking up, 2, and 1. Good, release. Bring the feet down, arms at your side. Take an inhale and an exhale. Let's turn the left palm out towards the left wall. Reach down, grab the inside of your left ankle. Bring your right arm towards the ceiling. Remember, rooted down to the floor, reaching up at the same time. Inhale, lengthen the right side. Exhale, initiate the kick back. This pose is called Natarajasana, and it translates into dancer's pose. It's a beautiful expression of not only balance, but of concentration, meditation. So what do? We keep the eyes perfectly still. And yeah, for sure, it's a tough pose. It requires a lot of effort, but cultivate the meditation in the challenge. This is one of the keys to yoga. If you can create peace in this moment, in this challenging situation, you can do that when you're in an argument, when you're in a traffic jam. So this is your chance right now. Kick a little bit harder, tilt a little bit more for 5 seconds, but hold the peace for 3, 2, and 1. Good. Release. Feet together. Arm floats down by your side. Right to your inhale. Right to your exhale. And we'll end off with tree pose. Bring the left leg to be nice and straight and your right knee up. So again, it's parallel with your hip. Turn the knee out to the right. Grab onto your ankle and bring it up to the left hip. Grab the foot from behind with your left hand and let the right knee drop towards the floor. The right hand comes to the center of the chest with your thumb right against the heart. Now this is tree pose. Think about that for a second. A tree reaches up towards the sky, but it also roots down through the floor, just like how we started the class. Breathe slow. All right, let's turn the right knee up. Drop the foot down towards the floor. And we'll do the other side now. Right leg is straight, left knee comes up. Turn the knee out to the side and cradle the ankle up towards the right hip. Left knee drops down, left hand to the heart. And this may sound a little weird, but one of the interesting things about expressing a pose is imagine that you're showing someone how beautiful the pose can be. Like tree pose, right? It's dignified, it's tall, it's energized, yet at the same time it's very still, very meditative pose. It's also a really, really good pose for opening up the hips, which prepares you for a lot of the floor poses. For the last few seconds, think of your left knee getting nice and heavy here, while at the same time lifting the belly in and up. That will help to stretch the hip out. All right, turn the left knee up, drop the foot down, arms at the side. Take an inhale and an exhale. That's the end of the standing sequence. So now that we finished the standing sequence, let's turn around and lie down on your back. So your feet are facing the back of the room you're in. Now Shavasana is actually a pose, so it comes with the same sense of alignment and visualization that you would give to any other pose. So for example, bring your hands at least, say, 8-10 inches away from your hips. So your arms are spread out. Palms are facing the ceiling. The feet, the heels, they're about yoga mat width apart, so about 3 feet apart. So it's almost like you're spread eagled here, starfish style. And this is an opportunity for you to really let the body relax into the floor. So think about this, that every part of your body that's touching the floor right now, on the next few exhales, expands so more is touching the floor. It softens, it spreads out. You can close the eyes here. Remember what we talked about at the start? The jaw is soft. So the lips can part slightly, and the tongue, again, it falls from the roof of the mouth. You can imagine your eyes, they're like marbles in the bottom of a bowl. They're just softening down right into the very bottom. The belly is really soft as well, so that you can feel it rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. And you just take the time here. This is a great opportunity to just let go of any tension that you developed in the standing series and just let it go. And for these last few breaths here in Shavasana, try this. On your exhales, let them draw out maybe a second, maybe even a second and a half longer than normal. See how that feels. Extra long exhales. Okay, we'll go into the first pose of the floor series. We're going to bring the feet flat on the floor and go into threading the needle pose. So the feet are flat on the floor. You're going to cross your right ankle onto the front of your left thigh. The right foot flexes to about 90 degrees. Now you've got that hole there, right? Put your right arm right through there and interlock your left fingers with your right fingers around your left shin. If you can't reach that far, you can interlock around your left hamstring. Now, from here, we start to pull that left knee down towards the chest, but not at the expense of the shoulders hunching up or the neck getting crunched. Do it nice and slow. Just feel yourself rooted down with the shoulders. Feeling a little bit of a stretch start to occur. In some cases, maybe a massive stretch. The key here is that we're getting the hip open from the outside. So gluteus maximus, minimus, but also this particular muscle right down there deep called the piriformis muscle. And when this gets stretched out and open, it provides more freedom to the nerves that run down through the hips and the legs, particularly the sciatic nerve. This is a pretty long pose, about 45 seconds, so take your time here, maybe pull a little bit harder on the exhales. And release. Bring your both feet back flat on the floor. And now we're going to cross the left ankle onto the right thigh. Reach the left arm between the legs and interlock your fingers, if you can, on the right shin or the hamstrings. Same thing. Start to pull down gradually with the left ankle flexed to a 90-degree angle. And this is important. It helps to protect the left knee joint. And one thing you might want to know is that most knee injuries actually occur in hip opening poses. Because if you got really tight hips, that stretch has got to go somewhere, so sometimes you overstretch the knee. So if you feel anything in the knee, you back off a bit. The stretch here is on the outside of your left hip. Now, a more advanced yoga technique here, if you want to give it a shot, is closing the eyes and visualizing the muscles of the left hip and think about them softening. Think about them being more liquid or gelatinous. Maybe even visualize a color like a nice rich red. You're pulling down and that hip is just kind of sighing open. All right, and release. Bring both feet flat on the floor again, and we'll get set up here for bridge pose. You want the feet hip width apart here, and if you want to get your middle fingers, you're just going to reach and touch the back of your heels, and that's when you'll know that the feet placement is correct. All right, now lift your hips up, interlock your fingers underneath your hips, and roll, walk the shoulders underneath your chest. Okay, take an inhale, exhale, lift the hips up towards the ceiling. This is called Setu Bandhasana, again, bridge pose. This is a backward bend, but obviously also a good leg strengthening pose as well. If you want to accentuate that aspect of it, try pushing your feet down into the floor and pretend that you're sliding the feet towards one another. And that'll activate your adductor muscles, your inner thigh muscles. One thing you may want to be wary of here is that you never want the neck to flatten out on the floor. If it is, lift your chin up just a little bit. That'll create a nice little arch in your neck. 10 more seconds. Aware of your breath. Eyes nice and calm. 3, 2, and 1. Release the pose down onto the floor. Arms by your side, legs stretched out. Eyes closed, and breathing. Remember we talked about those longer exhales? Try that here. Feel what happens at the very end of your exhale. Just that feeling of your body being energized and alive after a backward bend. All right, from here we're going to do a roll up. And just to be clear, this is not a sit-up where we catapult ourselves forward. We're rolling up using the deep abdominal muscles. So cross your arms on your chest so your fingertips are touching either shoulder. Drop the lower ribs down towards the belly button. Take an inhale and roll up, and as you reach forward, exhale for your toes. All right, so next time, just remember on the exhale, you reach for your toes. It's a pretty big aspiration, like a whoosh. Now let's turn around and lie down on the stomach, facing the front of the room again. Bring your palms under your shoulders, getting set up for cobra pose. So your fingertips, they're about in line with the shoulders. All right, now let's take an inhale and lift the chin and the chest off the floor. Top of the head reaches up towards the ceiling. Now don't push down with your hands. This is all back muscles. Specifically, we're working the erector spinae muscles, which go up either side of the spine. Hold that lifting. Keep breathing. Lifting, 2, 1, and come down. Arms by your side, look out to the right for a couple of breaths. So Cobra Pose brings us into what's called the spine strengthening sequence. Very important few poses we'll do here. All right, let's bring the arms underneath the body. So you're going to roll to the right and to the left so the arms come underneath you with the palms flat down and the pinkies side by side. Keep the mouth on the floor here, very important. Take an inhale and then lift your feet up off the floor. Legs are straight, lifting up. So you can see here, you're using the arms to push down, but you gotta use the back muscles to lift up for 3, maybe a little bit higher for 2, 1, and gently release the feet down to the floor. Arms by your side, look out to the left. Breathing into the backs of the ribs. Think of it this way, you're showing the person to your right, some imaginary person, how to breathe with your back of your ribs. Most of us think of breathing into the chest, but sometimes it's neat to feel that expansion in the back of the body. All right, this leads us to full locust pose, Purna Shalabhasana. Bring your arms behind you, interlock your fingers if you can, palms together. Take a big inhale, and now lift the chest and the legs up. So again, strengthening up the back here, very important. Lengthen the knuckles towards the back of your room here. Open the shoulders, the heart, the chest. Eyes look slightly up. 3, lifting up. 2, and 1. Come down. Look to your right. And again, breathing into the back of the body, eyes on one spot. All right, bow pose, Dhanurasana. Bend the knees, reach back and grab the outsides of your ankles. Bring the knees and the feet pretty close together. This is a deep backward bend. Let's all take an inhale. And here we go. Kick the shins backwards, the ankles backwards. Open the chest up. So from the side, you look like a bow here. You're continuously kicking those legs back and lifting the thighs up off the floor, creating this beautiful arch in your spine. For 3, opening the chest up. 2 and 1. Come down gently, look out to the left. And again, breathing into the backs of the lungs, backs of the ribs. And completely let it go. We just did a few tough poses in a row, but remember, when you're in that point of challenge, cultivate peace. When you're in the point of challenge, cultivate peace. All right, here's the best part of the class, the downward dog sequence. Bring the palms under the shoulders again, just like we did with cobra pose, but this time push yourself up off the floor, bring your hips back onto the heels, forehead on the floor, arms forward. This is a counter pose called child's pose, which is very important after having done that spine strengthening sequence. All right, now let's set up for downward dog. You're going to be in like a tabletop position here with your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. From here, curl the toes under, push the palms down into the floor, and lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Drop your head down. So if someone were looking at you from the side, you would look like a triangle. Sitting bones reach up to the ceiling, heels lengthen down to the floor, and please remember the palms stay flat on the floor. Of particular note here, the fleshy part of your thumb and the knuckle of your index finger stay rooted, cemented into the floor. This will help protect your wrists and your shoulders. So downward dog, that's the first part of the sequence. Second part of the sequence, bring yourself forward so that your wrists are underneath your shoulders again, and you're like a plank here, nice and straight and strong. So if someone were to place something on your back, your hips would not sag, so don't let those hips drop down. Take an inhale, exhale, come down, bend your elbows, come down about 6 inches, hold that for 3, 2, 1, and then inhale, come through with the chest, drop the shoulders down, lift the chest up, upward facing dog, holding that there, belly lifted up to the spine, 3, 2, 1, curl back over the toes, push the floor away from you, and back up into downward facing dog. So that's the sequence of poses there. Those 4 positions all flow together now with our breath. So listen carefully, work together with your breath and your body. Here we go. Let the air out of your lungs. Inhale, come forward to plank. Exhale, down 6 inches. Inhale, come through and forward into upward dog. Exhale, roll back over the toes, downward dog. Beautiful. Okay, now think about that flow, and you're expressing it as if it's the song of your body, something so beautiful here. And we'll flow together a few flows. Air comes out of your lungs. Here we go. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Inhale, forward, nice and slow. Exhale, down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, rolling back, downward dog. Eyes calm. Inhale, forward to plank again. Exhale, come down just a bit. Inhale, come through and forward. Exhale, roll back, downward facing dog. Yeah, here we are again, a tough position, but we're still breathing mindfully. The eyes are still nice and calm. Remember the intention that you set at the start of this class. Absorb that intention into your whole body here for 3 more breaths. And just keep in mind, every class is different. If ever you need to just be on your knees in this position, do it. Take a rest. But stay connected to your breath. All right, come down on the knees, hips back on the heels. This time in child's pose, bring the knees hip width apart. Even more, yoga mat width apart. Bring your arms backwards, forehead on the floor. Breathing slow. If you find yourself nice and sweaty here, just let the sweat pour. If you find you're distracted by thoughts of anything else, whether it be food or what you're going to do this evening or tomorrow, any conflict going on in your life, see those thoughts and then go back to the breathing. So at this point now, you're thinking inhale, you're thinking exhale. You're thinking inhale, thinking exhale. All right, let's come back up. And we're going to go into something called Sleeping Hero Pose, or Supta Virasana. Bring your knees about yoga mat width apart with your big toes together. This is a great pose for opening up the front of the body, particularly the fronts of the thighs. Hands are on either side of your feet. Take an inhale here, lengthen the spine. Exhale, sit down onto your elbows. All right, so that may be plenty. If that's as far as you can go, that's great. You just hang out right there. Otherwise, take another inhale and go back onto your shoulders. Go back onto your head. And if that's okay for you, just plop down, reach back, grab your opposite elbow over your head, or just lengthen the arms back and enjoy the opening. And the key here, particularly for those of you who are quite flexible, is to keep the tailbone pointed forward, the belly button drawn down to the spine, and the low ribs reaching down into the belly. And that way we get that big, nice stretch. And you know what? If you can only just barely sit on your knees and that's as far as you can go, that's a perfect pose. There are people who will be on their knees for 4 months until they can just finally get on their elbows. There will be people who will be on their elbows another 6 months, and then so on. Yoga is a progressive series of movements. There's never such a thing as not doing it right or not good enough. The whole idea you're trying to create here as you're in the pose or as you're approaching the pose is just to create mindfulness, to be connected to your breath, connected to your thoughts, connected to your body. Do a few more breaths here. All right, let's come back up. Bring your fingers to hook under your shins and push down with your elbows to come up, and then push with your hands. Bring the hands in front of you, and let's step the feet back and go into downward facing dog. And you can walk the knees forward and back here, and that'll provide some relief for the knees. This is great. Now the blood is rushing through the hips, the thighs, the knees, the ankles. And then come down onto the knees and we'll set up for Ustrasana, camel pose. This is again one of these magnificent poses that open the heart right up, but also a little bit tricky for beginners. So take your time, go really slow. Let's stand up on the knees with the knees hip width apart, feet hip width apart, and bring your hands to your hips, the back of your hips with your fingers facing down. Roll the shoulders back and down so the chest is open. Take a big inhale, lift the chest up, and then look up at the ceiling and backwards. Or if you're outside, look up at the clouds and backwards. So again, nice wide open chest. And if you feel that's pretty comfortable to you, reach back and grab onto your heels, get a good grip, and open your chest up more. Hold on to the heels, open the heart. Stay connected to the breathing with super calm eyes for 3. Open the heart, big backward bend, 2. And 1. Come back up, hands on the hips for support, coming back up, sitting down onto the knees. Let's turn around and lie down into Shavasana. This just gives you a chance to let the spine neutralize, soften. Now, yeah, the heart is racing here, right? But remember, that's your nervous system responding and getting activated, getting your body energized. So balance that out. Connect with that belly rising on the inhale, belly falling on the exhale. All right, cross your arms on the chest. Drop the lower ribs down towards the belly. Take an inhale and roll up. Exhale as you reach for your toes. And turn around again. Let's come into downward facing dog. Roll over the toes, push back up. And we're getting ready for pigeon pose. Take an inhale, reach your right leg up towards the ceiling. Hold it there. Take another inhale. Exhale, swing the right knee forward until it touches your right thumb and tilt your right shin forward to about a 45-degree angle. The left leg stays straight back behind you, and you take a second here to sit down into the hips. All right, so right here, for some people, this is a really intense stretch in the right hip. If that's you, awesome, just stay right where you are. If you need a deeper stretch, what you do here is you actually tilt the right shin more forward towards the front of your mat until one day the shin is actually parallel to the front of the mat. Same as we did before, the right ankle is flexed. Take an inhale here, lengthen the heart up, and exhale, fold yourself down towards the floor. You can do whatever you want here. You can stay on the elbows. You can stack your fists and put your forehead on your fists, or you can just drop your forehead right down onto the floor. Now this is a pretty particular sensation, particularly for those who are just starting out with their yoga practice, because it's intense. These hip openers, my God, sometimes you feel as if your brain is about to explode. If you're feeling that in any sense, here's 2 big tips here. 1, please stay connected to the breathing. That's what's going to keep your nervous system nice and even and relaxed. Second thing is, if the intensity continues, back out of the pose a bit. There's no sense, because you feel a big stretch, to go even further. Just get to the point where you're stretching and breathe. I think that's one of the biggest concerns that we have with yoga these days, is that people feel that the end result is to go deeper and further into a pose. And truthfully, in Moksha Yoga, we really do want our students to just be present with the moment. It does not matter how deep you go into a pose or what your pose looks like. It's how you're experiencing, how you're feeling it. So a few more breaths here. Remember, this is a nice long pose, so we keep the breathing even and continuous. Let's come back up. Place the hands flat on the floor. Curl your left toes under and push back up into downward facing dog. You can walk out the knees a bit here if you'd like, and then stretch the left leg up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale. Exhale, swing the left knee towards the left thumb. Again, we're going to angle that left shin in whatever direction you'd like. Instead of just plopping down here, take the time. Let your hips soften down into the floor. And if you want to feel an extra sensation here, push the top of the right foot into the floor and really strengthen the right leg up. You'll probably feel that again where we talked about before in the psoas muscle, right in the front of your right hip. Then inhale, lengthen the heart up. Exhale, folding forward again. Remember we talked earlier about the psoas muscle. If it's super tight, that can contribute towards back pain. Same thing with the hips. If they're super tight, it just pulls everything down and things tend to get jammed up in the low back. They say that low back pain at this point is epidemic in Western culture, meaning that it's really far spread and it takes up a lot of resources in our medical system. So just think, if you just do this stretching, this can help tremendously if you experience a lot of back pain. A few more breaths here. Keep in mind that if you do those extra long exhales, there's more of a tendency for things to soften down. All right, let's come back up. Place the hands flat on the floor. Remember the palms stay flat. Curl over the right toes and push back up into downward facing dog. Same thing, walk the knees out if you'd like. Get the blood flowing through the hips, knees, and ankles. And then come down onto the knees. We're going to go into rabbit pose, Sasangasana. This is a great pose for stretching out all the little muscles that connect the vertebrae together. So again, the spine is nice and fluid and flexible. So we're sitting on the heels, knees together. Place your hands back by the feet. Take an inhale. Exhale, roll down towards the floor so your forehead comes down to touch the top of the floor. The forehead is pretty close to the knees. Then reach and grab your heels really tight. Get a good grip. Take an inhale. Exhale, roll the hips up towards the ceiling. So your hips are coming off your heels, rising up to the ceiling here. But you got this superhero grip on your heels. And you're allowing the spine, the back of the spine to open up like the vertebrae are yawning open. Try not to put too much weight on the head here. The key here is pulling as hard as you can on the feet and thinking about, feeling about the spine opening up towards the ceiling. For 3, 2, and 1. Hips down, roll back up. And we'll finish off with 2 nice poses here. Drop onto your left hip. Put your right foot over top of the left knee. Reach the hand behind you. The right hand, lift the left arm up and over. And we use the elbow again as a lever here. So we push the elbow to the left and turn the heart to the right. Okay, so we're twisting through the spine here. This is an amazing pose. It stimulates the movement of cerebrospinal fluid, not to mention contributing towards that nice flexible spine. And then uncoil. Do a little bit more of a twist to the left. And then turn your right leg underneath the left leg, left foot over top. So it's right at the corner of the right knee, your left foot. Right arm comes up and over. The right elbow goes to the outside of the left knee. Again, push the knee to the right, turn the heart and the chest to the left. On this side, try it with your eyes closed and think inhale, tall, exhale, twist. Inhale, tall, exhale, twist. Thinking about your right ribs turning around to the left. And uncoil. And here we are, the last pose. Baddha Konasana. Bring the soles of your feet together and the hands behind you. So your knees are flopping out to the sides. And get a sense here of the chest lifting, the shoulders dropping, And the thigh bones, the femur bones, just resting down towards the floor. So remember we talked about the adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles? This is where we get a nice stretch on them. Now some people, their knees just plop to the floor. If that's you, grab onto your big toes and lengthen your chest forward towards the floor. Eventually just bringing your forehead down onto the floor. All right, let's bring the knees up and together. Hold on there for a second. All right, we did it. Let's come on to the knees with the hips on the heels, preparing for final breathing. So final breathing, it's called Kapalabhati breathing, and the whole idea here is to actually cleanse out the internal organs and literally breathe toxins out. Because we've stirred a lot up throughout the class, and here's our chance to just let it all go. So every exhale that we do is going to be a sharp exhale, like a whoosh. And as we do that exhale, the belly snaps in. We're going to do that 60 times, but just keep in mind, you don't think about the inhale. It's just exhale, 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 and trust that the inhales happen automatically by vacuum. Okay, here we go. Take an inhale and begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's turn around, lie down for final Shavasana. Feel free to have a drink of water before you do this. Take a second to let any dizziness pass. But we're moving now into final Shavasana, lying on the back with the feet facing the back of the room. So Shavasana is loosely translated as corpse pose. And morbid as that may sound, the whole idea here is that we're getting our bodies and our minds to a place of complete stillness, similar to a corpse. So there's a technique to this. First off, please keep in mind that the arms are away from the body, palms face the ceiling, and the heels are at least hip width apart, with the toes rolling out to the side. It's kind of interesting, when the palms are facing the ceiling, it allows the shoulders and the neck and the chest to relax. And when the toes roll out to the side, that allows the hips and the groin and the lower back to relax. But it doesn't end there. There's this whole scanning that we want to do through the body. So as you're lying there, bring your attention, your awareness to the top of your head. So it's almost like you feel this sense of watching occurring of the skin of the scalp, because there's thousands of muscles up there, and you're just thinking about every one of those tiny muscles opening and softening. And it's like a ripple effect that allows your forehead, particularly right between the brow, to soften, and then the eye sockets, because remember, you want the eyeballs to just drop down, and the cheeks, and of course the jaw. And as the jaw relaxes, the lips will part slightly and the tongue drops from the roof of the mouth. It's an amazing feeling, just this, feeling the softness, the sense of relaxation in the inside of your mouth and the muscles underneath the skin. That whole head is weighted down into the floor. Then you can feel the length of your arms from your shoulders to your elbows, to your wrists, to your fingertips. That rippling of awareness and relaxation occur through the length of your arms. Try not to think about it. One of the things that brings us out of the meditative state is thinking about what's occurring. Try instead to just observe, be a witness to the experience. So we'll go back up to the shoulders, but now it's from your shoulders to your chest to your hips. Your stomach relaxes, chest, back relax. So now your head is heavy into the floor, your arms are relaxed, and the whole torso is softening down into the floor. And this ripple effect is often involuntary, because now that you've relaxed the upper part of the body, the lower body responds. The groin and the hips, the upper legs, the lower legs, they too relax. You can even bring your awareness down to the ankles and the arches of the feet, even to the toes. And here's the interesting thing. When you now feel your whole body as one coalesced, one complete relaxed entity. So we're not separate parts now, we're one whole being relaxing down into the floor. It's interesting, it's almost as if there's this dull electricity right underneath the surface of the skin. And that's now what we're connected to. Not impulses, not likes or dislikes, not any stories that we've created about our life or our personality. We're just being, lying on the floor. If at any point you're finding yourself antsy or nervous or unable to fully relax, always go back to the breath, just like in a pose. So the belly rises on the inhale and falls on the exhale. If, however, you're connected to that deep relaxation, go deeper than that dull electricity and feel the bones relax. Feel the marrow inside the bones relax. Feel the cells relax. And as you deepen your yoga practice and become more experienced, this is what starts to occur, and this is where we enter into the depth of what yoga has to offer. All the poses that we've done have prepared us for this relaxation, for this openness. If you're feeling able to open even further, start to detach your awareness from body, from self, and feel the air around you as part of your awareness, the walls around you, the air beyond the walls, the trees, animals, lakes, oceans, atmosphere. Expanding awareness to space, to planets, to stars. And the ultimate goal of samadhi, absorption with all that is. No name, no body, no story. Now take as much time as you want here. Try not to get up off your mat until you truly feel rested, until you truly feel calm, because it's that impulse that you want to bring out into the world, into your relationships, and perhaps most importantly, into your perspective. The Sanskrit word namaste is often loosely translated as the divine in me, recognizes the divine in you, and bows to it. So thank you so much for your practice, for your intentions, and most importantly, for the results of what's occurring from your yoga practice. You are making the world a better place. Namaste.